Okay, you're listening to You Can Fix That in Post with Simon, Elise, and Dave, and there is an elephant in the room. So, there's a considerable gap from the episode 11 to episode 12, and that's because the world went to crap. The zombie apocalypse happened, and for the entirety of 2020, we couldn't record because we were in lockdown for most of it, and we were all set to go for a next phase when we had a secondary lockdown in 2021.
I think it was actually the fourth lockdown.
I just count 2020
Victoria.
as an entire lockdown.
The whole year.
Just because there's a gap of a couple of weeks between lockdown 1 and lockdown 2 or whatever it is. I don't know. Yeah, so in that interim, we got some new equipment. So if the quality's better, well, that's because we're now with Rode mics for all your recording needs. Give us money. Likewise, we also posted it online, and the response has been pretty good. We've got listeners in the UK. We also have listeners in the US and China, but generally, Aussies represent.
Hello to our international listeners, though. Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, but they're not our major thing. We're all about the oi, oi, oi.
You were excited about the Virginians.
The Virginians, yeah. I don't know if I'm doing it correctly.
You
but
sound like John Wayne.
John Wayne. No, John. So the other...
Let's not alienate our listeners.
I'm including them. I'm inclusive. The other thing that's happened in the interim is that we got an editor on board, and he also does our little digital pictures that include the different montages of the films we're talking about. And this is Ben.
Hello all. And I'm sorry for trying to stifle my laugh while Simon did his horrible Virginian accent.
That was not a Virginian accent.
It's not horrible at all, sir. Virginia accent is great. I'm your Huckleberry.
That was the Dukes of Hazzard.
that was Tommy Wiseau trying to do a Virginian accent right there.
I don't know who Tommy Wiseau is.
The Room.
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Never mind.
Regardless.
Oh, hi, Mike.
So, beyond all that stuff, the zombie apocalypse, new equipment, new guest. Guest? New person. He's not a guest. Well, he might be a guest. We might get rid of him. We're not sure.
See how I go.
This is his first time. Be gentle. The topic for this week is repeating movies. And what we mean by that is like those time loopy things whereby you relive the same day over and over again. And I guess what you would say is that all of these spawn from Groundhog Day. It is the first, and for me, it is the best. I know that's now a topic of debate.
We thought we were all on board here.
Yeah, and then
Dave finally threw
Showed
his hand
his-
up and said
yeah.
no.
The
Show his true
fortunate
colours.
thing is Dave doesn't have Facebook, so I don't have to unfriend him by otherwise just saying, I unfriend you.
Thanks.
Okay, so Groundhog Day. For me, if you were going to put Bill Murray in a time capsule and represent who he is, what he is, the breadth of his work, the comedy, the drama, everything, this is the film for me.
It's got the full scope. Yeah, it has
Yeah.
those moments of real pathos as well as the really well-known comedy that it.
Yeah,
that it
there are
has made its
times
name.
when you're laughing your ass off, at least in the first viewing, and then over time, you still laugh your ass off. It's layered. They did it that way. But it's also heart-wrenching. Like, you're watching him struggle to keep this homeless old man alive, even though it's a futile thing. And you're watching him kill himself because he can't see the point in it all. But it's also weird in that, he's going through these phases of grief where it's like, I'm just going to deny this, which is him going through it going, maybe it's just deja vu. And then it's like, sod it. I'm just going to lean into all the bad parts of who he is. I'm going to try and, screw whoever I want, regardless of the moral, problem with that. Or I'm going to smoke my ass off and I'm going to drink and I'm going to eat a million different, bacon and eggs and all that stuff. But the character goes on a journey and we do get to like him. At least I hope we do.
I think that's kind of the real trope of these time loop films is that you start off with a really unlikable protagonist who goes on that arc to become a better person eventually, or to goes on an arc to fall in love with the right person, and that's what ends the time loop. Well, it's debatable what ends the time loop in Groundhog Day. It's kind of unclear.
As we just discussed, we were talking behind scenes. It's like, what actually does end it? Well,
Andy McDowell's
special no-no
Magic-
parts, apparently. Yeah.
magic
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah, apparently if you have sex with Andy McDowell, it stops the time loop. Apparently, I don't know. Four Weddings and a Funeral looks a little bit different now.
It does. Hugh Grant had been reliving that first wedding over and over again.
Maybe in Michael, John Travolta actually wasn't an angel.
He was just sleeping with Andy McDowell
Yeah.
and living the same day over and over again.
I feel like we're starting this conspiracy theory of Andy McDowell's no parts. So why does this film hold up?
I think it's iconic. Like, it was a completely new idea. It's even spawned almost its own genre. For people outside of America, I mean, Groundhog Day is this movie. No one knows that it was actual holiday. I'd never heard of the term Groundhog Day
No.
before this film.
No.
And I think, yeah, again, for anyone outside of America and probably even in America, the term Groundhog Day now refers to living the same day over and over
Yeah,
again.
I mean, you
it's-
don't have to have seen the film to know what a Groundhog Day is.
Yeah. And a lot of films that, do this then reference it, or at least Happy Death Day to You basically pretty much says, oh, we're doing Groundhog Day.
Yes.
So, I mean, the character is a bit of a scumbag to start with. So he's manipulating the circumstances to bed the redhead, and he steals money from a van. He's getting blind drunk and then driving this car with two unwitting passengers. And I guess the reason why this film works for me is because we go on that journey of him being a completely unlikable character to someone that we actually kind of go, we hope this doesn't repeat because he deserves to move on.
Yep.
There's
And you were
been-
saying it's unclear how long he's in the day.
yeah,
There's different theories. At one point, Harold Ramis had come out and said he's stuck in there for about 10 years. And then I think it was later revised and he said it's probably closer to 30 or 40 years based off,
Wow.
the skill he picks up. And apparently the original script writer had it close to 100 years that he was stuck there, It's I think the movie itself shows 38 separate days or something. So you see it sort of condensed down. But even then it does a good job of, well, not giving you a clear indication of how long he's in there. He's been in there for a long time.
Yep. He's gone through those 5 stages
Yeah,
of grief.
and there's obviously a lot they don't show you. Like, we see him hit that dark period where, he continually tries to kill himself numerous different ways. It's like, well, I'm sure at other points he probably went postal and it wasn't just him he was trying to kill, Stuck in that same situation.
Ned Ryerson copped it.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
he did.
Well, I guess the other thing is you look at how long it took him to master the piano. And every day he must be going in there going, I just want another lesson. I'm just going to... You'd have to say, oh, I'm pretty good. I've had some lessons. I just need a quick refresher. If every day he kept on saying, this is my first lesson, I think that chick would be reevaluating her life in terms of...
Well, I think at one point it does even show him saying, I've had a few lessons before
Yeah,
as he's
yeah,
starting to progress,
yeah.
But that's it, he learns the piano, he learns to carve ice with a chainsaw, he seems to learn every single person's schedule for the day within that whole town,
And their whole life story as well.
and it's not just he's done that once off, he knows it inside and out, so he's done it repeated times. He's been there for a while.
Yeah. What I find interesting is that you never have a scene in which Bill Murray says, or comes to this thing of, why am I repeating? Why shouldn't I investigate this repeating? I feel like if I investigated it, maybe I could stop it. I mean, but I guess if I was in that case, I wouldn't investigate until I'd had my fun. Like, I would go, okay, I'm going to learn the piano. I'm going to learn how to fence. I'm going to learn how to do all these things. Afterwards, when I want to try and stop it, then I'll try and stop it. But for right now, this is just sweet.
You wake up living the same day. First reaction is, okay, so I'm Groundhog Daying. Second is, wow, was I really that much of a prick that this has happened to me?
Yeah. And I don't have to question that. I just know I am.
I feel like it's his personality as well to just accept it. Like, he seems like he's jaded with life, or at least the assignment that he's on at the moment. And he's just like, yeah, well, of course this is happening to me.
Yeah, it does seem like he's going through the motions. Like, he doesn't really want to be at the studio where he's at. Like, he's
He thinks he's above it all.
Yeah, but also he doesn't want to, like, he thinks he's above it all, but he doesn't really care. I mean, I guess that's the thing. He ends up caring a lot about random people that he, up until, like, you know, a day ago, he didn't know existed, like the homeless old man. I guess in 2021, you look at the morals of someone basically going, what English class are you in? And who's your fifth grade teacher? And... Oh, Nancy.
And then using that to manipulate them into bed.
What's your social security? And your Facebook password? And mother's maiden name? Yeah. He's like, is this person trying to steal my identity?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not supposed to like him in those moments. And if we did just like him from the start, well, then there is no gravitas to him becoming a better person. In which case, also... if he's not becoming a better person and if that's the catalyst to get him out of the repeats, well then, you know, how does he get out otherwise?
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, I guess, he was a jerk, I guess, and it's hard to watch and, like, annoying, I guess, but sets up the story, I guess.
And the film lives on in a lot of weird ways, like the conspiracy theories that Ned Ryerson is the devil, and as soon as he signs the insurance thing and his soul away, then he can get out of the time loop, because apparently that's the last one that he... And, you know, the idea of, oh, okay, he gets out of the hotel room faster, yet Ned is always at the right place at the right time.
Which, because if he's been in there for 10 years, you have to imagine that at some other point... he's signed the thing just to get Ned away from him quicker.
Well, you
I can't imagine that
walk
this is
a different way.
Yeah, there'd be another way that he...
You'd call an Uber.
Yeah.
So they didn't have Uber back then. Well, it's a simpler time. They didn't even have Facebook. Someone mentioned Facebook. Yeah.
None of that.
And then the other thing is that the Christians really love this film. Not to isolate us from the Christians. We love the Jesus. Yeah, so they do that whole, you know, redemption thing of someone who is a sinner and then comes to become a better person.
I did not realize this.
No, I didn't realize it was so big. Like, it's obviously, it does show a big redemption arc, but no, it never struck a chord.
The whole resurrection thing, I guess, as
Yeah.
well. Like,
does he do the full arms out when he swan dives off the bell tower?
Now that we talk about this, it's really kind of there.
it's a bit more obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. Though I don't know if Harold Ramis or Bill Murray are particularly religious, but
It does have some Christian overtones.
and this is the last film they worked on.
They did. This was kind of the film that broke their relationship, unfortunately. There was a lot of arguing behind the scenes between the two. I believe it was Harold Ramis wanted it to be more comedic, and Murray wanted it to be a bit more philosophical at times, I suppose. Which, I mean, the movie does a great job of walking that line of doing both. It is fantastic for that, but I think both of them were pushing either way, and Murray was going through a divorce at the same time while filming, so obviously probably wasn't in the best frame of mind, so it just led to a lot of arguments, and unfortunately after this one, the two of them went their separate ways and didn't speak to each other until they made amends on Harold's deathbed, which is a bit sad, but yeah.
I guess it kind of makes sense in terms of the arc of Bill Murray's career, as in he was purely comedy to start with, and then if you look from Groundhog Day onwards, he's in comedies and he is quite funny, but also a large body of his work is serious, which is maybe that was the transition. Maybe it's like, well, maybe I'm going to do something that has more meaning.
Gravitas.
Yeah. This repeating thing doesn't just, you know, go for comedy. They're like, you know, it spans different things. So
It does adapt really easily to different genres.
yeah, so like, you know, Edge of Tomorrow is sci-fi, but Happy Death Day is comedy / teen
Horror,
slasher. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and then you can go the sort of romantic comedy of Palm Springs, the teen kind of drama of Map of Tiny Perfect Things and Before I Fall. And there's one that we were sort of discussing as whether or not it would count as a repeating one, which is 50 First Dates, which I don't think it does.
Yeah,
I'm going to say it doesn't.
Like, yeah, Drew Barrymore maybe reliving the same day. Well,
But she doesn't know.
No, and even that, it's the other people around her doing it. As soon as Adam Sandler comes into it, well, she's no longer living the same day because he's courting her. You know, the day changes. It's
it's like Groundhog Day just for her brain.
Yeah.
It's like it's just got the same element of, you know, say some person having the advantage of the information of what happened yesterday, what's going to happen, and the other person that's totally unaware. So I guess
I guess Adam
she's
Sandler
the
has that advantage.
It's not Drew. It's not the one reliving the same day who has the advantage of knowing what's going on.
Actually, that's
Everything's
right.
still
It's kind
new
of
to
flipped,
her.
isn't it?
And the best thing about that particular film, not that we were really going to talk about it, but the best thing about that film is the ending. In that it's not like, oh, we found this miracle cure and her brain's back to normal. It's no, every day they have to show
Explain
that
it to
tape and explain it to her.
I'm sorry. The best thing about that film is Sean Astin.
Sean Astin and
Agree
his,
to
like,
disagree.
his netting shirts.
The thing with Happy Death Day to You is that I feel like the journey of getting to know and like Tree is a lot simpler. I feel like her first iteration is like, I hate her. And then it only takes maybe one or two repeats before she alters some little things and you realize, oh, she's not a complete, you know, well, Bill Murray.
And you learn more of her backstory as to why she's kind of a bit of a jerk.
And spoiler alert in terms of, you know, the second film, but a large portion of it is her relationship with her mother because she's in a parallel dimension where the mother that has died in her dimension exists in this new one. And the character is given this kind of choice of, you know, stay here but not be with the guy she now loves, or go back to her dimension where her mother is dead. And there's a lot of moral questions that are just brought up in this teen slashery repeating
There's a lot
film.
of massive plot holes in that film as well.
Yeah, it was that.
I'm watching it and I'm loving it because I actually really enjoy those films. They're a really fun film franchise. But when it gets to that second one, you're like, okay, well, why is there two of this guy now? The one you start with, Ryan. Why is there two of him? Why are we now in an alternate universe? Why did the first film even happen? Like, if they're trying to explain it with this big device thing that they've built, how is she the one that was repeating a day over and over when she had nothing to do with it? It just brought up a lot of. I think it created more problems than it solved.
Like, it was very much that thing. Yeah, your first one, watched it, really enjoyed it, and then you get the second one, and I still enjoyed it, but the plot holes are a lot more obvious in it, which detract from it.
The question is whether or not there are plot holes if there's an intention of making a third and the second was made knowing they were going to try and make a third. By that I mean, if you say the first one was a standalone thing and we don't need to know why she repeats. Okay, like Groundhog Day. The second one is written with the intention of making a third, and the second one says, okay, this device gives the ability.
What if you never get the money for the third one, though? What if Jason Blum suddenly goes extremely bankrupt?
Well, then we're
You're like, well, we've got a second movie here that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but it would still be relatively enjoyable. It'd still probably make its money.
Oh, yeah, it's still incredibly watchable, but
like,
you
it
do
wouldn't
have a lot
surprise
of
me if he
unanswered
wrote
questions.
the second one going, okay, this is the device does its thing, and the third one is about, okay, yeah, but why is it her?
Yeah.
And the third one could be, well, we all know she gets drunk the night beforehand and some weird shit happens and she wakes up on a couch in the bed and it repeats, because the second one's trying to explain how this is possible. Maybe the third one explains why it's her. Maybe I'm reaching, maybe that's me hoping, because otherwise you just go, well, why is it her? That doesn't make any sense.
And she kind of references that in the second film where when they're at the basketball game and she's talking to her boyfriend where she's like, I did think that this was just some big cosmic thing for me, you know, to show me where my life was going wrong. And to be now it turns out it's not. It was just this machine. It's like, yeah. So why'd the machine pick you then?
Yeah.
Maybe it was a big cosmic thing for some reason. The machine randomly picked it, but no, it just doesn't kind of make sense that way.
One could argue that why did the machine pick her? Maybe the big cosmic thing is that she needed to work out the moral thing of, well, if the death of your mother is a major influencing thing of your life, what if we gave you that opportunity to be with her? But in being with her, you selfishly take her away from another
Maybe you've
version
been
of
so
you.
much of a jerk that your roommate is actively trying to murder you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it skirts this line of comedy and, you know, sci-fi in some ways. I mean, there's this argument to be made that the second one, you know, gets interesting because the person who repeats is her boyfriend's roommate. And, you know, he sets it up as repeating. I think he only repeats, what, 2 or 3 times?
I think they show the setup the first time, and then he repeats once, and they only show that sequence a second time, and that after that it gets transferred back to her.
Now, I wonder whether or not...
Which is a pity, because
well, I mean...
it could have gone in a really different direction.
It could have gone in a different direction, but maybe they were stuck with, okay, if we're going to repeat this time, these days, we then have to use an actor who we've previously had in the previous film.
He was in the first one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So we're stuck with the people we've got. Okay, we're going to repeat him. But we don't know if he's a good actor or not. He might have not had the emotional depth. He might not have been able to do that whole character thing. We might not have... Like, we really like Tree.
Well, and to be honest, that was the thing. You could follow him and take a completely different direction, but when it started and it showed him repeating, I did actually feel a bit cheated because I'm like, no, I really like the character of Tree. I don't want this movie to be centered on someone else. I want to follow her journey and see what's going on with her.
Yeah, and also, we have those emotional things of... when it does cross over back to her, we feel that kind of gut-wrenching thing of, but she just got out of there.
Just got
she's
out.
stuck again. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had never heard of the actress before. I looked her up online afterwards, and I went, oh, she was in La La Land. And apparently, after the fact, she was like, you know, a cameo. But she's got some range, and you do grow to like her really quickly. And part of the reason why the second film is good is because of the relationship with her mother. And, you know, I would argue that the mother actress grew on me. She was too sickly sweet to start with. But then also there are moments where it's like, oh, when she says, you know, well, this is just like the hand you're dealt. You know, you can't choose... you know, all that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, she's better than what I thought she was. But I still would have liked, you know, like a Meryl Streep.
Oh, God. Meryl
I think
could have
everyone
played
would
Tree,
like a Meryl
let's be
Streep.
honest.
So they are planning on making a third. I hope it explains why she's the one chosen. I mean, admittedly, Groundhog Day never shows why he is chosen.
But Groundhog Day never attempts to explain it either,
exactly.
whereas this does. So.
Yeah.
So the initial premise of the film, I think the trailer was, someone is killing you and you're repeating the day. So use those repeats to try and work out who it is. So she's doing this list of all the people who could be the baby face killer. Meanwhile, it's...
What school has a baby as their mascot
That
with
is
a creepy ass mask?
Yeah.
Creepy mascot.
I clearly think they just found a creepy mask and then went, well, we have to make that the mascot. So let's call it Bayview College, the Bayview Babies. Yeah, so she's trying to work out who's the one who's killing her. And at that point, you're thinking that the reason why it resets is because she keeps dying, which makes you then think, okay, well then, if she lives to a ripe old age of 99, does then when she dies, she goes back to where she was?
Young
Gets to live her
again.
life all over again. It's a possibility. If she had have escaped
Well, that's
escaped from the killer and
well,
managed
that's
to
the whole thing. She has
live through the day.
her really good day where she thinks she's found the killer and made amends with everyone, and then, spoiler alert, ends up eating a poison cupcake and dying in her sleep to reveal the true killer, which also kind of annoyed me because it's like, yeah, you had your really good redemption day and then it got yanked away from you.
Yeah.
Out from under you.
But I feel like that was doing a similar thing to what Groundhog Day did, where there was a day in Groundhog Day where it seemed like he was living a good life, he was a good person, all those things were happening. And then next thing you know, we're hearing Sonny and Cher going, "Aw." And, you know, So I think that might be a thing where it's like, oh, we know that this will wrench the audience, that we think they deserve to keep on going, but now we'll yank it away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what happens in the second one when they go from repeating the roommate to her
Yeah.
again. We all kind of go, oh, not again. She doesn't deserve
Deserve
this.
this to be stuck again. Yep.
My problem with the ending of the first one is she basically kills her roommate.
And there's no repercussions
There's no
whatsoever.
repercussions at all.
It was self-defense. You're free to go. No jab.
Yeah. Like, at best, days later, they test the cupcake and they find poison and stuff like this. But it's like it's the same day or
The same
whatever
day
it is.
she's
It's
back
just
with her
like-
boyfriend.
Yeah. It's like, no, in reality, she'd be off in handcuffs. And it'd be like, well, whose story is it? Well, we only know it was you two in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
From the outside, it's going to look like she just snapped and killed her.
yeah. And I think part of this is that the films are ridiculous.
Oh,
you
they are.
have to accept certain amounts of ridiculousness.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
Like the fact that the school seems to have plenty of creepy atmospheric places too, like this creepy old bell tower and this section of the hospital that's under renovations. And it's like, it's
That
just-
under that tunnel thing.
Yeah,
like,
it's just-
the
oh,
tunnel
yeah,
walkway.
Or that this thing that looks basically like one of those things you put your hands on to frizz up your hair has the capacity to turn back time. Like, you look at it, it's just a giant bit of chrome ball, and you're like, yeah, I believe this is the thing that's changing the space-time continuum. Like, I think you have to just go with it.
You have
Oh,
to,
yeah.
but there are still certain plot holes that I think you can't overlook. Like I was saying, my enjoyment of the second one was diminished because there were just certain points where I'm
Yeah.
like, "Why you've put this in here for the sake of having a twist, but the twist doesn't make sense." It's like, and we had this discussion. The reveal of the murderer in the second movie
Yeah.
makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like, yes, we're in an alternate dimension. She's no longer the murder target. It's now her roommate who's being targeted.
Because she's sleeping
Because
with the
in
teacher.
this one, it's her roommate who's sleeping with the teacher. And the reveal is that, well, my wife found out about the affair, so now I
So
have
we
to kill
teamed
you.
up to kill you.
And it's like, well, no, the first reveal is, so I'm here to kill you. And it's like, well, if your wife's already found out, you're not killing her to cover up the affair, so I don't quite get it. I could understand if the wife wanted to kill you as a revenge thing, and then, surprise, surprise, yeah, the wife's in on it too. She's there to kill him. It's like, so the husband and wife have teamed up to kill this teenage girl because the teenage girl was sleeping with the husband, but there's no repercussion for the husband. The wife's fine with that. I'm just going to kill the girl instead.
I feel
And then
like-
the husband turns on her and kills the wife as well. I'm like, there's no sense behind
This
it.
is not a twist.
Maybe I read it differently. Maybe I heard different things, but I thought it was that the husband said that he had made an agreement with the wife to kill her, and that was what was going to make things okay between them. And then after doing that, he then kills his wife because he's like, I don't really like you anyway. The whole thing is, it's ridiculous. It's not even.
I don't even like her anymore.
I don't recall that being. Maybe I missed it, but I kind of got to that point and went, nah, sorry, I just don't get that.
Yeah.
We need to have a surprise twist as to who the killer is, and this is what we've ham-fisted in there. I'm just like, yeah. I mean, yes, it is a time limit movie, but it is also still meant to be that kind of slasher flick. Obviously, not as much of a slasher as the first one.
No.
But
It's
still.
more sci-fi comedy.
But
Yeah.
still, that's still an element of it, and that part just made no sense.
But there is a problem with films like this in that everyone's going to logic the ass out of
Oh,
it.
and
Like-
Oh, yeah.
any time manipulation is always
Yeah.
going to have that issue. But
But
this isn't a time manipulation issue. This is a basic character plot.
it's a plot problem.
Why do they
But-
want?
in the context of horror and slasher, the idea of, just a twist for the sake of it happens all the time.
Oh yeah,
What
but
I
it
would
can still be done really badly if the twist doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
sometimes doing it badly is the trope.
Trope.
So, like, the idea of her going, every time I die, I repeat, right, in the first one. And she just keeps on being happy to die from the killer.
I don't know
Logically,
if happy's the right word.
well, logically, to be honest, in the major thing with victims running around going, "Ooh, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die." In the United States, it's a hell of a lot easier to get a gun. If you knew every day a guy in a mask is gonna try and kill you with a knife,
You'd go to Kmart. And
you'd go to Kmart, you'd get a gun, you'd just shoot him and go,
But no-
"Well, I don't have to repeat today."
But no, instead she goes to that cop in the hospital and tries to steal a cop's gun because that's the
Yeah,
smart thing.
yeah,
That makes sense.
it's ridiculous. But all those horror, "Oh, I'm running away from
Yeah.
the bad guy" things are ridiculous. I mean, if you were to compare it to Scream 3, it's like, "No, I'm Sydney's brother who was estranged," and all this other stuff. So that's why I'm the killer in this one.
But then there's also the other fact that in the second one, she's like, right, well, I'll kill myself this time to reset the day, and
That's your favourite part of the movie, though. Watching her kill
yes.
herself in the most horrendous ways
but at the same time,
possible.
it's like, okay, I'm going to kill myself. Why don't I just take some sleeping pills and make this painless?
Make it
No,
painless.
I'm going to go to the supermarket and start
chug some
chugging
drink
cleaner so that I
horrify people
wake
around
up
you.
the same
Or
day
go
retching.
skydiving without
So, that was hilarious.
parachute.
That I can understand. But yeah, the drain cleaner one just got me. I just went, no,
Ugh.
that can't be enjoyable in any sense.
The other thing is, my personality type is that I could never trust it would repeat. I just be like, I'm just going to die, and I'm going to leave
gonna
that
be
poor
it.
bastard in the line in the supermarket seeing, "Oh, I just saw that girl, Drano or whatever it is."
Just die horribly.
I better be repeating, otherwise it's just, I scarred that guy for life. And, I mean, I guess we're laughing about it, which is, it's a comedy
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But these repeating things go beyond that. Like, we've got Tom Cruise in one of those films where you're like, I really like that film. God, I
really
wish
wish-
I liked Tom Cruise.
I really wish it hadn't been Tom Cruise playing that part because I really
Yeah.
don't like him.
Yeah, and it's sci-fi, and it really leans into sci-fi with different creatures, and their blood happens to alter, the space-time continuum and all that stuff. And
that one leans more heavily on the sciencey science fiction.
And I think it does a decent explanation for that, as why time's looping, and it's a great movie villain in that case. These aliens that are always winning because they know what's going to happen. They are the Bill Murray. They've learned your tactics, and because they've lived them over and over, and that's how they wipe you out.
And the second that they start to realize that they might be losing, reset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like just a random thing that's unexplained. It's like it's evolved in their species, and they're using it, I guess, to conquer species.
I mean, to be honest, it also has that thing, which is now the staple, admittedly only over these 3 films, of Tom Cruise as a prick. He starts off being that way of,
Yeah.
I don't have any battle preparedness, I'm in PR, and then the guy played by Brendan Fricker, Brendan Gleeson basically says, "Well, that's too bad. We're going to put you in front of the front lanes, blah, 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 blah." And
Now we're alienating our Irish listeners.
one might say, including them. He gives him an ultimatum. He says,
He blackmails him, or attempts to.
yeah, and that's why he's put on the front line. And it's one of those things where we don't really like Tom Cruise in that position, but then over time, I feel friggin' terrified for him. Like, the first thing when he's put in his suit and they're just like, "You don't even need to know how to use your guns." And it's just like, that's not fair.
That's not cool.
Well, tape your mouth shut and stick your nose like, yeah, okay.
Why don't you just execute him right now?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And the mascot for this show, Bill Paxton, appears. Aliens, Terminator, all that stuff, all the good stuff.
War is the crucible through which all is forged, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And if it's not Bill Paxton, it's Lance Henriksen. Lance Henriksen has to be in everything. So we grow to see him go from this guy who's a PR, dude, to knowing everything. So that's why he becomes like the best soldier ever. And,
And you find out that that's Emily Blunt's character's journey as well. That
yeah.
she's been
She was
just a
also
nobody
repeating-
soldier, and through repeating a day over and over and over again,
Yeah.
she became this what do they
Superstar,
call it?
basically.
Angel or something.
Angel of the angel. No, not the angel of death. Is it? There's something bitch. She's Full Metal Bitch.
Full Metal Bitch.
Yeah. And because she got splashed with one of those alien blood things, and it allowed her to repeat it, and because of that she became a really cool soldier. And there's that thing of him really not wanting to die. Like the amount of times where Emily Blunt or wherever is just like, no, let's repeat now. I've got a hangnail. That's not a reason to kill me.
And at the point of the movie where he loses the ability and she almost just shoots
Yeah.
him in the head to
Yeah.
reset.
Yeah. And the other thing about that film is that the people around him help in the end. So there's the guy from all those Ricky Gervais things who's like larger bodied guy who as soon as he hits the shore is just like, yeah, we made it, and then crash. And because of those characters, he's able to complete the end mission, which is killing the giant, monster thing that is in charge of it all. But beyond that, we learn to like Tom Cruise, which is not exactly the most easiest of things to do.
In this day and age, yeah.
The interesting thing with Tom Cruise is I love The Last Samurai, I love Collateral. There's a million films of him that I go, God, I love him. And then he jumps on a couch.
In movies. I love
Yeah.
him in
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. He makes some really good choices. There's very few films where I go, don't know why he did that.
Yeah.
So we know the explanation as to why it's repeating. We never get an explanation in Groundhog Day why it's repeating. We have no idea why it stops repeating. So do we need to know in these series of films? I don't think we do when it comes to Groundhog Day.
Always. One of my favorite explanations is from Palm Springs, in that it's this glowing light and
Mystical cave, yeah.
it's not a full explanation. Like, that is how it happened, but you don't know why, and you don't know where this thing came from. But you've got enough to go on that you go, oh, okay, if you go into that cave, you're gonna have a repeating day, and it ends up being 3 people that are repeating their day. And the way that they end it is by basically just blowing it up. So,
Very, very highly calculated blowing.
yeah.
Now, is the cave in this particular film, because I haven't seen it, a metaphor for Andy McDowell's no-no bits?
No, it's so...
Well, he did blow up Andy McDowell's no bits to end it.
It only appears at a certain part of the day there is an earthquake, which is what opens it up and reveals it. So it's not like anyone could just wonder. It's for the most part, it's not there. It appears during the day,
Yeah.
and then that's the whole thing. Krista Millotti's character towards the end gets determined that she's going to break the cycle and starts studying quantum physics and all this sort of stuff, and becomes
a genius.
Really
in
becomes a
quantum
genius. And this
mechanics.
is her theory that by wearing dynamite and walking in at a certain time and blowing it up should then propel them out of it. But it's
Yeah.
not a certainty. It's a I think this is going to work.
It's either
Or
gonna
this
kill
could,
us,
or
or
this
we're
could
gonna
end it
get
all.
out.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think they cram science into these things when it's not necessary, or it's also very highly unlikely. Like the high... I
There's
don't...
dinosaurs in that film though as well.
There's dinosaurs?
So,
Those dinosaurs?
yeah, it's a cool film. It's a cool film.
I've seen that. I just don't remember the dinosaurs.
Oh, they get high at one point. It's done. Seeing dinosaurs out there, they're not real.
Maybe I
The
don't
dinosaurs
give...
aren't real? I thought the dinosaurs were real.
I don't remember them being real.
I'm pretty sure the dinosaurs are real.
Okay, I'm misremembering. I thought they just get high at one point and
They both see the dinosaurs. So it's not like
both
just one of them
contact
sees the
high, maybe.
dinosaurs.
yeah.
That's going to blow my mind now.
The 3 dudes who
dinosaurs
are
real?
basically working out the math to get Tree back to her dimension and time and all the other stuff, all of that seems to be complete bullshit.
Yeah.
That they just go, all you need to do is a bunch of squiggly lines on a whiteboard and anything's possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
See,
the-
yeah.
It's also the tiny map of perfect things?
Yeah.
They're the same thing. There's the math at the end is like the 4th dimension, and she's in the map and tries to work out a pattern, and yeah. same thing.
Yeah.
There was one thing that I thought was unforgivable, which is in the first Happy Death Day to You, they talk specifically about how many times she's died or repeated, and she mentions the term 16. And then in the second one, she mentions 11.
Yeah, I remember her saying 11 in the second one. I don't remember her saying it in the first one.
And I was just like, what? That can't be. What are you...
I don't recall, when did they say 16 in the first one? Because I know, yeah, I definitely remember in the second one when Ryan's complaining that he doesn't want to die and she says, I've been killed 11 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a similar throwaway line in the first. But I guess what I'm saying is, do you think these films fail when they try to explain why they repeat?
I think I love Groundhog Day for the fact that it doesn't try to address it. I think Edge of Tomorrow does a very good day of addressing it. I think it does very well. You know, that's as alien ability, and that's why they use it, and this is how he got it. I think that makes sense. Happy Death Day, is very much a big stretch.
I think it does fall apart, particularly in the second film.
Yeah.
And
There's
hopefully
just the
third.
plot holes in that
Yeah.
really, you can't look past it.
No, you can't.
It's not something you can go, I'm just going to ignore that.
Unless
It's
the
a
third
movie.
totally explains.
Hey, if it does, but at this point,
it doesn't
it
exist.
doesn't. Like, yeah.
But they're making a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow.
They are. And apparently one of the first things that they came out and said is the sequel will do a good job of explaining the end of the first one. I'm like, well, I kind of got the end of the first one. I mean,
it seemed pretty clear to me.
But apparently a lot of people take issue with it. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I kind of find it weird again. Like, again, with Groundhog Day, in Edge of Tomorrow, you don't get a clear indication of how many times he's relived it. It seems much higher number because it is very much of the tiniest thing went wrong, bang,
Yeah.
dead, repeat.
I moved to the left by 1 centimeter too much,
Yeah.
and now I'm dead.
And
So
even to the point where like it shows him the first time when he has to sneak away from his platoon to go and meet Emily Blunt's character, and he does that thing where he rolls away under the car and gets hit by the car.
Yeah.
It's like oh yeah, he did it wrong the first time and then he got it right the second time. It's like everyone has off days. How many days were there when he just that was the point he got to? You know,
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
there's probably at least 50 days where he didn't even get that far because he did something stupid early on, and it's like, oh great.
And it explains the madness very well, both in Groundhog Day and in Edge of Tomorrow. We're talking about hundreds of iterations. When you hear Happy Death Day 2 say, I did it 11 times, and the first one did 16, I still, if I was repeating 16 times, would be like, maybe I shouldn't eat this thing that's going to kill me in front of that guy in the supermarket because it's only happened.
And the fact that she wakes up weaker every time.
Yeah.
Which I actually thought was an interesting idea.
That you know that it's not. Yeah, but I also find it weird that she'll wake up one day, the day where it's like, oh, I'm really weak this day and I have to go to hospital and they're going to tell me that it's. And then the next day I wake up and it's not that
And I'm
bad
fine.
again.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe it was just that one day of rest was enough to recuperate you, but it does, yeah.
Or alternatively, maybe it comes down to, and this is going way on a tangent, the idea of how long you live in that day dictates how bad the damage is on the repeat. Or alternatively,
Or the way you die.
the way you die. So maybe don't, go underneath a steamroller just to know what it feels like. Maybe just, a nice little, sleeping pill or something
Well,
like
again,
that.
she wakes up with the effects of it, though. Like,
Yeah.
the day when she drinks the bleach, she wakes up vomiting and
Yeah.
feeling gross. It's like,
So why would you try and put yourself through that? Oh, I got decapitated. The next day it's like, oh, I can't feel my legs.
I
Oh,
love how
no, I feel them now.
in
So that's
Palm-
okay.
In Palm Springs, how they're aware of that, and Andy's like careful to not die a painful death. Like when they're about to crash the car, he's
Yeah, because if you end up in hospital,
Yeah,
you're not
and
going
you
to
don't
repeat
die.
the day.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have to die in that.
Yeah, that one you either if you fall you fall asleep.
you fall asleep.
Either way, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fall asleep
You have
or
to fully
die.
die,
But
'cause
if you're
if
in
you
a
wind up in a
coma or
coma,
something, you don't
Then
repeat
you don't
the day.
want
It's not until you actually
And you
are
feel,
properly
and you
asleep.
still feel all the pain. So if you just get hurt really badly, you're going to be in a lot of pain until you either fall asleep or die.
Because he does get quite, he is quite nihilistic. At the
Yep.
point when Kristen Miliotti's character is joining him, he's quite nihilistic about, if you're going to crash the car, I'm going to put my head up against the dashboard
Yeah.
so it happens quickly.
The difference being, though, I feel like Andy Samberg's character in that isn't particularly unlikable. It's not that he's a bad person. It's that
She's
I've
unlikable, though.
Yeah, he's the one who's like, I've been trapped in here for so long, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah,
It's not like I'm a bad person. It's just like, yeah, I've just got to find a way to pass the time.
yeah.
In that film, do they reference Groundhog Day?
I'm pretty sure they did. There was two movies. There was the Happy Death Day.
Oh
one, and
yeah,
there was another
they
one.
do talk about I think Back to the
yes.
Future or something as well.
Right.
In the end, Happy Death Days I do. I can't remember if they do on Palm Springs. They
I can't remember
might.
which one. There was another one, but yeah.
Because if I was Andy Samberg in a universe whereby Groundhog Day exists, I'd be like, if I live my perfect day, or even if I just touch Andy McDowell's private bits, if she's on the island.
I just have to travel and find Andy McDowell, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
He talks about one day where he took a lot of meth and
Yeah.
then made it like
I
3
think-
days or something.
I think he's got to that point where he has kind of tried everything. Like, again,
Yeah,
he's not that
yeah.
bad sort of narcissistic character. It's not that he's got much of a redemption. He's just been
Yeah.
stuck there and bored. And I mean,
Yeah.
occasionally J.K. Simmons. So
Character shows up to kill him.
J.K. Simmons is another one who they meet because it all takes place as this destination wedding. So they meet and get drunk at the wedding and sort of make friends. So drunken him leads him to the cave, and then J.K. Simmons gets stuck in the day as well. The difference being that J.K. Simmons had started his day 300 miles away and had driven to the wedding. So most days he doesn't bother, but then randomly on certain days when he's feeling
particularly
very
pissed
vindictive,
off.
he'll drive the distance and hunt Andy Samberg's character just to kill him.
Just to kill him.
Yeah.
inflict, so, randomly showing up with a crossbow and hunting him down and stuff. It's like,
Just wait. So the logistics of this thing is you repeat your day if you don't die, and
Even if you fall asleep.
if you
Even
fall
if you
asleep,
fall
it
asleep.
resets.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
It's a good film.
It's a really good
actually.
film. You should watch it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So it doesn't really matter then if you,
Doesn't matter if you die or not. You're
Yeah.
going to repeat the day.
yeah, but it also doesn't matter if you live or not. You could be paralyzed or whatever it is, like you were saying, as long as you fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. An induced coma doesn't do it, or
Oh.
so.
Yeah.
How would you
could
find
still
that
be in
out?
pain.
You-
Well,
There's,
he's
there's,
obviously tried a lot of ways
there's
to
this
kill
one
himself.
thing where he winds up in hospital and he's there for a couple of weeks for some reason, and just there's something that
Oh,
keeps him awake so he
okay.
doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's yeah. Okay. Cool. Now it all makes sense.
One of
in
the other
theory.
movies I do want to call out as excellent, which none of you guys have watched, was Two Distant Strangers, which is a short film on Netflix, which is based around. It was created after George Floyd was murdered. It's about a young black guy who has spent the night with a girl, wakes up in her bed, and is trying to get home to feed his dog, and every day, which repeats, he gets killed by this white cop. And no matter what he does, even if he stays in the apartment, he ends up getting murdered by this same white cop. And it has a really excellent twist at the end, which I don't want to spoil for you guys. It's really good ending, which it sort of explains the repeating day, but it's quite a dark twist on it. It's a short film. It's only 30 minutes. It's on Netflix. It's really easy to access. I definitely recommend that you guys watch that one because I do want to get your
We'll add to the
your
list.
take on it because it's a very emotional film. Like I had a big cry in this movie, but it's really good.
I did actually end up watching it. Yeah.
Oh,
And-
sorry. Yeah, you've watched it.
I was surprised because I wasn't expecting like a short. I was like the first few scenes, or whatever, and I was just like, this seems a bit off. Like, doesn't seem like a movie. But I very quickly got the picture of what it was about.
Did you like the ending of it?
Yeah, it was cool. It was. It's like it's a new take on that idea.
Yeah, it's brutal,
Very
but
cool.
I was like, oh, that's a good
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah. And the how it was analogous to like what's happening, I guess, in real life as well was
Well, pretty pertinent.
Any other movies that you guys want to throw out and mention? There's the TV series Russian Doll, which follows the same theory.
Oh, I forgot about Russian Doll.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Russian
I
Doll.
haven't actually seen that. I've been
I
meaning
haven't
to.
seen
It's really good. Again, it's like quite dark. But yeah, no, it's really good. And Natasha Lyonne in that is really brilliant. There's a few TV series that have done like
similar things,
episodes. Like the Supernatural one was really good.
And just to throw out the whole community thing, there's an element of that in the one where they throw up the dice.
Which is a repeat.
Yeah.
oh, they split the timeline into
Yeah.
different.
We're in the
The-
darkest timeline, guys.
The major thing being that clearly when they do that, they don't realize that they're also, like, they don't have a memory of the other
Yeah.
iterations.
Separate stories, but
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's more of a multiverse
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention community.
Fair enough.
Bottle episode.
So Ben, what are you watching right now?
What am I watching? I have just finished The Watch on Stan, which is based on the Terry Pratchett novels, the Discworld novels.
Oh.
Just wait,
It's
was Terry Pratchett the guy who did Hatchet?
no
Discworld.
Discworld.
Yeah.
So
He's
big
a
series. of books.
prolific writer.
Yes.
I don't read.
So the series itself isn't based on any of the particular books, but it takes sort of the world and some of the characters from it and makes its own story, which I really liked. It didn't get great reviews. and I can kind of understand why. It's
It would be catered to probably a very niche audience.
It's more that it's tonally it's all over the place.
Okay.
I mean, I really enjoyed it, but it does sort of jump like there's some really dark moments that then try to jump to really lighthearted. You know, Terry Pratchett has that very distinct type of humor.
Yep.
But yeah, it kind of tonally shifts a lot and doesn't stick with it. It goes from, you know, dark and gritty murder mystery to lighthearted sitcom type of thing. And so I
Sounds like
enjoy,
a good time.
yeah, like I enjoyed it, but yeah, it can sometimes be a bit, you know, patchwork all over the place. And I mean, one of the
Would you say if you had a background of having seen Terry
see,
Pratchett's
I've
other
only
material?
read one of Pratchett's one of the Discworld novels, which I liked, but I'm not a huge fan by any means.
I remember there was some, like, I don't know whether they were miniseries or
the
movies.
like the Hogfather and stuff like that.
Going Postal, was that the other one?
Oh, possibly, I'm not
Something
sure.
Postal?
But yeah, look, I really enjoyed it. It sets up for a second season, which I don't think was going to happen,
Oh, that's a
which is
shame.
unfortunate. But no, overall, I'm quite like that. And then on the side, I'm finally sitting down and watching 30 Rock, which I've never seen. Finally getting into that one.
Love
and
30 Rock.
yeah, enjoying it. Yeah, what about yourself?
I am halfway through Sweet Tooth on Netflix.
Which I thought was a
Which-
movie, but it's a series.
No, it's a series. Yeah, it's good. It's like surprisingly dark. It's about there's a global pandemic. Oh my god.
Right.
It's just science fiction. That could never happen.
A global pandemic that sort of wipes out large sections of the population. But at the same time, children are being born that are hybrid with animals. Not in a creepy way.
I don't know how you do that without it being creepy.
I don't think the animals were involved in the creation of the babies, if you know what I mean. But yeah, like there's children that are, you know, might have a pig snout or might have bunny ears or one scales or something. And it's about a little boy who is born that is sort of part deer. And he has antlers and little deer ears. And his mother disappears and his father takes him and raises him out in the middle of the wilderness. And so he has like no knowledge of the outside world, basically. So his father raises him in isolation because these children are being blamed for this pandemic somehow. And then, you know, something happens and he needs to
go on a journey.
Go on a journey. And something else happens and it's about him sort of discovering the world and the people he meets along the way. And you sort of see the world coming out the other side of a pandemic and how people are living now and how they're coping with the world. And it's great. Like the prosthetics and stuff on the little boy are incredible. Like he looks amazing. All of the kids that have these mutations look amazing. And it's at times very heartwarming and at times absolutely earth-shattering and it would just break your heart, but I'm really enjoying it. It's really good.
I feel like both of you have just had some kind of pact where you went, we're going to mention the most messed up stuff and think...
I tell you, it's really nice.
And what are you watching,
No,
son?
but I think they both just made up TV series to see if I would believe any of that stuff.
Dave, quick, do yours now. Do yours.
So what I'm actually watching is I'm watching Bones, and it's about a forensic anthropologist, you know, basically investigating different deaths. That sounds
made up
very.
as shit. What are you doing?
It sounds very
A police
realistic
procedure?
in comparison to pig
I don't
people.
think so.
But yeah, I'm up
It's
to
a bit
season 9.
fantastical in that she can figure out how people have died just by
that-
looking at a
that
rib.
part of it is complete and utter bullshit, but she doesn't have a pig nose. So I'm okay with that. Dave, what are you watching?
I don't know if it's weird as much as it is boring, but
Quality TV. I like it.
I've actually just finished exams, so I was just revising uni lectures all day for a few weeks. So yeah, I did watch a couple of movies. There was some Marvel movies that I had missed, didn't realize they came out, like Loki and Thor Ragnarok, which I thought was pretty cool. The whole time traveling thing, Luke Day's got me into. What did I watch?
One Division or?
Time Traveler's Wife.
Oh, that's Eric Banner, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
And he played the Hulk, so there you go.
There you go. Yes, yeah. So yeah, that's about it.
Don't believe if that one is, you know, part of the MCU for some reason. Time travel.
The first Hulk.
No, time travel.
Oh, time travel's like not Marvel, but you know, Loki's been good. I've been enjoying Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Disney doing its thing of one episode a week. Screw them.
Yeah.
I want all of them now.
Thanks, Disney Plus. All right. So we have our socials set up now. So we really want to hear from everyone as far as what you're watching, what you're enjoying, whether you agree or disagree with us on the topic of the week. If you absolutely hated Groundhog Day, we definitely want to hear about it.
We may
I
get
really wanna
angry,
block
but
you.
we want to hear it. Yeah.
I'll unfriend you for sure.
Block and delete. No, we wouldn't do that. We welcome all comments. Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can fix that in post. Get in touch. Let us know if you've got some ideas for topics as well. We'd love to hear it. I mean, we've got a few that are in our list, but we're very, very happy to hear from you if there's something in particular you're interested in. You can also email us. It is ycftip, you can fix that in post, @gmail.com. Get in touch with us if you have anything you would like to let us know about. If we've made any grievous errors under something, also, please let us know and we will try to rectify that. We're only
Not
human.
all at once. I'm sure there'll be... Our inbox will be flooded, but yes.
Yes. But thank you for listening and thank you for subscribing. If you have, if you haven't, please consider subscribing. That would be great. Thank you. And you'll be hearing from us again soon. Bye.